ahead of us. So without further ado, I would like to say hello to everyone and get started with our FY26 Administrator Virtual Learning Community. We're super excited to get started for the year, and we're starting strong today. I'm going to introduce Robert Moore here in a second. Just a couple of things. First, Rob is going to give us a preview of a recorded partnership pitch that he has created for Illinois Adult Education, along with more resources that he created just for us. And we have posted them and we'll continue to post after today. We'll add a few things. And we'll talk about that at the end of the meeting because it'll all make a little more sense in terms of what those are and how you can use them together. So he'll be sharing that with us today. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll go back to, okay, where's everything at and all those kinds of things. So thank you so much to Rob Moore, an adult education expert joining us from Indiana today. I'm going to let him talk about his great experience that he has in introducing himself as well. Rob?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the honor of joining you today. My name is Rob Moore. I'm a retired local adult education program director over here in Indiana. I was director actually of two programs in two school districts. My first one was North Spencer County Schools near the town of Santa Claus, Indiana. Have you ever heard of Santa Claus, Indiana? So that's where that school district is located. And my one where I retired from most recently about 3 years ago was the Monroe County Schools in Bloomington, Indiana. So I had about 19 years of my education career was in adult education at the local program director. I've never been on anybody's state staff or anything like that. But so I just speak from the local level to state and local people. That's kind of what I've been doing in retirement when I'm asked to do so. I was our state association's president for 2 years at two different times, and currently serve on our advocacy committee and do some professional learning now for our adult education administrators here in the Hoosier State, as well as other states when I'm given the honor of being asked to do that. So I'm very happy to join you today for for this virtual learning community, the first meeting, first up to bat. So it's quite an honor to be with you. Thank you for the great invitation. So. I know in talking with Tara and Sarah that partnership is a topic that you as local program administrators requested to learn more about. So I put together some resources for you on this topic of partnerships and my approach to forming partnerships for the two adult education programs that I was director of. And today I'd like to go over those resources so you know they're there and how you access them and how you might use them. These resources are collected on a web page that Tara and Sarah maintained for you, which you're probably familiar with. So we'll go ahead and look at that a little bit later. One of those resources I did was a recorded webinar for you on this whole topic of partnerships in adult education called the Partnership Pitch. So in that webinar, I talk about the approach I use to form partnerships in my adult education programs and the lessons and tips that I learned. Secondly, I offered some templates you can use as you plan to meet with some of your potential partners in your communities. And they contain some topics I always thought about ahead of time when I wanted to talk with partners about. And finally, I'm working on 3 videos in which I model a typical conversation with different community partners. I've done one already, which we'll look at later today in our time together. So I hope those resources will be helpful for you. And we'll look at those resources in detail a bit later. So I thought what we do today is start with a preview of the webinar I recorded, just to show you some highlights you'll see when you have time to view it for yourself and maybe whet your appetite to go and look at the whole webinar. It's only, what is it, Tara? I think about 20 minutes or so, really not that long. So hope that's useful for you. But let's take a look at a little preview of that, okay? So I think it's helpful for any topic we're learning about to understand the terms we're using. So for today, and in that webinar, the primary term we're going to be talking about, of course, is partnership. Now, I'll let you know that before adult education and before being a high school assistant principal, my first years in education was as a history teacher. So I'm a history teacher by origin. So naturally, I go into some history of this term so we get a sense of what partnership means. Now, in this webinar, I discuss IETs quite a bit. It's Integrated Education and Training. So let's all remember that IETs are called ICAPs in Illinois. They are the same. ICAPs in Illinois is IET at the federal level. Okay, got that? So I might use those, I might forget and kind of use IETs, but I'm also talking about ICAPs, same thing. Okay, so forgive me if I kind of fall back to the federal term. Okay. So we know that ICAPS, it's a service that we offer in Illinois, and really, in my mind, it offers a fantastic opportunity to form partnerships. The federal term IET, Integrated Education Training, is an activity authorized for adult basic education under WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, Title II, the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act. Again, in Illinois, we're talking about ICAPS, the Integrated Career and Academic Preparation System you're all familiar with. So that's kind of the basis for the webinar recorded for you about forming partnerships is within mainly the context of ICAPS and workforce literacy initiatives that you might have. Okay. So in the full webinar, I refer to our program's outcomes and our students' goals for participating in adult education in the first place. And I have them listed here for you. They will look familiar to you if you are conversant with the federal outcomes we're all required to act on and report. Then after identifying the reasons why I need partners, I kind of thought about what organizations or people can support these goals. Okay. So let's share some ideas here. Okay. I want you to put your thinking cap on now and be ready to participate either verbally or in chat. Okay. So with Rob Moore, it's not a set and forget things or set and forget. It's a hopefully not set and forget. It's a set and participate, please, with us, because then we'll kind of learn from each other. So let's share some ideas here. What community partners are out there that you know of that can help us and our students achieve these outcomes. Okay, so please share them aloud or type them into the chat. And Tara and Sarah, can one of you kind of monitor the chat for us for those who wish to participate that way? But otherwise, please feel free to kind of shout them out. Tell us the number of the outcome, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and what partners are out there that can support us in helping our students in our program achieve those outcomes.
For enrollments, one-stop center referrals.
Excellent. Absolutely. Fully agree.
Employers.
Employers, any particular outcome for that they identified in chat for that?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Rob, this is Elizabeth Hobson from Dean of Adult Ed at Elgin Community College. And for 5 and 6, we work very closely with our peers at the community college who are offering the CTE and health professions things for the courses for industry recognized credentials and transitioning to post-secondary.
Absolutely. Way to go. Great partner for that. Thank you.
And we had someone from Elgin also echo number 5, community college partners added for number 1, workforce development, number 2, testing center, number 3, one stop. Also for enrollment, local high schools, and Title I-B for youth.
Excellent. Yeah, those local high schools, I always have a theme throughout my time as adult director because I was in 2 school districts, K-12 school districts, and I always try to make sure people understand we're not trying to recruit students out of your high school. In fact, it'd be really awesome if the kiddos would stay in high school. We all want that, okay? But we want to be a backup plan for those kiddos for whom the wheels unfortunately have fallen off. You can rely on us to kind of just embrace them in a new way. So absolutely, way to go. Others?
Rob, I'm going to throw out a very different one that I don't know that anybody else would think of, but I've gotten involved recently with our community pantry, our food pantry, and they have asked to be linked with adult education programs because they're trying to help some of their younger clients stay in school and understand exactly what we were just talking about. And I saw Sandy Snowden put 1,000,000%. She agreed. I think it's 1 million. It's a lot of zeros, Cindy. So anyway, I just that made me realize, wow, there's all these other people who could help with enrollments. Because if they aren't going to stay in school, then obviously they need to be somewhere getting some help. So
Absolutely. And what a nice partnership with those like food pantries that are giving people those basic needs, okay? Because it's very difficult for an individual, as we know, to continue with education, which is a little higher on the hierarchy of needs, when we don't have the basic needs first, okay? So once we got that, you know, under control, or a little better under control anyway, maybe it's never under control, but then they can go on with some higher level needs. So absolutely, great recruiting partner for us, great referral partner for us, great sharing of resources. Absolutely.
We have a couple more that were added for number 1, local township, also local YWCA or YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
For number 1, the Boys and Girls Club, also Department of Human Service, WIC.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a couple more ideas thrown out.
Absolutely. Places like Food Pantry, WIC, and those agents, and many of our agencies in our community are working with people who are looking for self-sustained financial sustainability for themselves and their families. Okay. That's what we're about too, right? Okay. So we can cross-refer like that for enrollments. Okay.
And
Was somebody's going to say something?
Mhm.
Thought I heard a voice back there. Okay. Okay, great job brainstorming. And I would encourage you to maybe use this form as you're thinking about partnerships or new partnerships through the lens of who can help us with these outcomes for our program and our students, and who shares these same outcomes for their clients and customers. Those are the partners we could be listing like that in our local communities. Way to go on that, Illinois. Fantastic. Okay. So we're going to look at 2 of those kind of partners that I work closely with anyway. For my IETs, your ICAPs in particular, or really partnership in general for for really all those 6 outcomes. Okay. One of the primary partners across really anything in my program, again, particularly for our integrated education training, your ICAPs, was our local American Job Centers. In Illinois, we call IETs ICAPs, and the American Job Centers, I believe in Illinois, are the Workforce Development Centers. Yes, in Illinois, Workforce Development Centers. Okay, so we are with them WIOA core partners. Okay, by and large, we are serving a very similar customer base for a similar purpose. So in my mind, a positive working relationship with our one-stops, some would call them one-stops, is certainly something we should be pursuing. So in the full webinar, I dig into this potential partnership pretty deeply and how we can share the customer base, how we can share services, how we share resources so we can serve them jointly, and then we both attain the same outcomes that we're going for, okay? So that'd be a part of that section about how you can partner with our American Job Centers, our one-stops, or our workforce development centers, whatever name that we're referring to them as, okay? So for today's purpose, let's discuss a little bit about our workforce development centers or one-stops. Some of us might already have a very well-developed relationship with our workforce development centers. Some of us might have a relationship that could be described as, okay, I'll just say it because I've seen it on our side of the Wabash River. I've seen it kind of be unhealthy. I've even seen it be acrimonious, okay? And some of us might not have a relationship at all with the local one-stop, okay? So let's brainstorm a little bit, okay, with some questions here that I had in mind as the basis of my relationship with my local one-stop. Why would the Workforce Development Center need us? Okay. Secondly, to help meet their goals, what would they need us as adult education programs to do? Then to help them with their goals and ours, how can the local one-stop, the Workforce Development Center, how can they contribute to this effort? And finally, how will we all benefit? The Workforce Development Center, we as an adult education program, their job seekers, our students, how will we all benefit? Okay, so can anybody share some ideas with that, either from your very positive experience or your hopes for partnering? What are your ideas on some of these questions? Can you type in the chat or shout them out loud like we've been doing? Either way is fine.
Well, for the first 2 questions, our pipeline of possible job seekers and candidates who are now, after completing our programs, probably educated and ready to move on into career and technical education and job seeking and employment. So what they need us to do is to communicate with them and supply them our job ready or our training ready candidates for them to refer or at least to match in their programming.
Brian, way to go. And in the full webinar, I'll share some examples of how we've done sort of that cross referral and how I anyway have tried to keep our local one-stops informed of what we're offering so they know how, what to refer their job seekers to, what's available. Brian, thank you so much. Way to go. Others?
In the chat, our relationship with our one-stop is what we call a two-way street. They send us clients and we send them our completers.
Excellent.
Another
Excellent.
one to provide the educational programming.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Because remember, our local one-stops, our development centers generally are not the education providers, aren't they? They rely on other providers of education for their job seekers, other forms of training, providers of training. Way to go. Others? Well, keep this list of questions in mind here because we're going to see a little bit later today, and we're going to see it also in the full webinar. Okay, I'll contribute maybe some other ideas for those for these questions. Again, these are topics, questions, issues that I always had in mind when I went in to pitch a partnership for different organizations, but particularly these for our one stops. Okay, wonderful job, you guys, on that. Wonderful. Okay. Another partner I had for what I call my IETs, your ICAPs, besides the one-stop or workforce development centers, was employers. Okay. Now, in our state of Indiana, on this side of the river, we are not required to have an employer partner for integrated education training. Okay. In some states I've worked with, I learned they are. They have like an ICAPS approved, an IET approved in their state, they must cite an employer partner. We don't have to have that. That's not the case in Illinois, is that you don't have to cite an employer partner. It's really helpful, but you don't have to, you're not required, are you, to cite one? No? Okay. But in many cases, I had an employer partner for our IETs, your ICAPS. In fact, most of my successful IETs were workforce literacy classes conducted with an employer partner for its incumbent or even its future workforce. Okay, so I think employer partners, when we kind of wind up to pitch, we have to consider again a few things. And guess what? Here they are again. I always thought about, why does this employer need us? What is the goal they're trying to accomplish? Okay. What does this employer need us to do in order to accomplish its goals, its desired outcomes? Thirdly, what can an employer contribute to this joint effort? And lastly, how will everyone, that's the employer, our adult education program, their employees, our students, benefit? All the participants, how will we all benefit? Okay, so let's brainstorm some of these together, either aloud or in the chat. You have an employer partner in mind, okay? Or maybe you have an employer partner you can kind of cite as an example for us. Why did this employer need you? What does the employer need you to do? What did or has or can this employer contribute to the effort, and how will everybody benefit? Can you cite some examples that you have, or maybe you would like to have with a future employer partner? Think about an employer. What's an employer trying to do ultimately, right? What's a business trying to do? Start there.
From the chat, there are clear communication barriers between employers and employees that can be addressed through ESL classes.
Okay, excellent. One of the things they're trying to accomplish is to train employees to carry out the work of the employer, right? And sometimes they need us to help with that training if there's a language barrier, and that's what the employer would need us to do. Wonderful. Okay, excellent example. Other examples, other ideas why employer partners would be helpful to us in these ways? And how we can be helpful to the employer? Two-way street.
We can, demonstrate to our learners like the kind of commitment needed, right? Because so many employers are like, that's the first thing, really. They want someone who will show up. Like it's simple, but a lot of times, like the job seekers they're getting are, not as committed as they'd like them to be, like with any job, right? So like that's what opens up again that two-way communication between the employer and the training center, where they can give us the needs of what they're currently looking for. And again, that'll a lot of times center around like a commitment. And so if we, demonstrate to our learners that that is what is necessary, like that's the first step of your job. And we can demonstrate that by going through this training program, our learners are already committed to the training program. They should therefore be committed to a job. That's really valuable to them.
You bet. Maybe the employer needs to kind of help us filter some of the potential applicants, kind of their future workforce through adult education. Okay. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe why they need us is because they have a problem with employee retention. Okay. Because of that commitment, Brian. Thank you so much for citing for us, because I think that's definitely one we hear all the time. There's people right now that they schedule a job interview, they don't go. They're not even committed to that. Okay. Much less stay for the first day, first week, first month. So we can certainly be helpful with that, and they could use us for that. Thank you, Brian. Again, wonderful. Others?
So this is Torn with SWIC. We had a relationship with Tyson Foods in the St. Louis area a few years ago that we would offer GED classes to their employees. The employees were given obviously those few hours off, and I believe they were also paid during that time to work on their GEDs. So they clearly wanted a way to retain their workforce, because this is, monotonous factory type work, right? You're just doing the same stuff every day, filling sausage biscuits every day. So they wanted a way to retain them and also better their situations by getting a high school diploma if they could. So it was pretty good for a while. Unfortunately, Tyson has moved into their own, like they have their own program now, so that relationship has ended. But for a while, it seemed like it was going pretty well, right? We were providing those services for them. We felt good because we were obviously getting students who were doing well, getting their GED tests passed, those kinds of things, and just trying to help the general area, bring people up, give them a better opportunity.
Great example. So let's walk through these. That's such a great example. Let's walk through these 4 questions together on that excellent example you just gave. So why did the employer need you? I think you told me because they wanted to retain employees. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What did the employer need you to do? Provide a high school equivalency class, yes?
Right.
Okay. What did the employer contribute to the effort? I think one thing you mentioned was time off for classes, paid time off for classes, right?
Yes.
What else did they contribute? Anything else?
I mean, for us, obviously, we're getting the, I don't know what you want to call it. We're getting the benefit of having students enrolled in a work site, right? Which is part of our mission.
So you benefited on the 4th question. You benefited by a fulfillment of your mission. You're at the work site, okay? And for example, back to the 3rd question, did the employer did they pay for the high school equivalency test? Did they provide space for the class or anything like that, or was it just the paid time? Okay.
Yeah, they provided the classroom. It was on site, and then I do believe they paid for the test too. It's been 3 years or so. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, they were doing everything they could to make sure the burden was lessened on us. And I believe they paid for part of the instructor salary also.
Oh, so you kind of cost shared on some of those.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay. And everybody benefited, right? So the company benefited. Did they benefit by retaining more employees or be able to move people up into higher positions? Or how would you say the company benefited?
I would hope so. I can't answer that question,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
would hope so. And I know that we also, a lot of the people who worked there came from the Missouri side. So at the time, Meredith petitioned that we would be able to serve those students from out of state as well,
Mhm.
which we were given
Sure.
permission to do so.
Mhm.
So we had to,
Great.
we were looking to help even the people who were not Illinois residents
Mhm.
to try to better their situations too.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty common along the borders of the state, isn't it? That's the way it is in Indiana. You know, if we're working in our state agency also usually will say, okay, they're benefiting an Indiana or an Illinois employer. So I'm glad your state agency is of that same mind. Okay, and the participants benefited because they got their high school equivalency, eligible for higher level jobs maybe that require that, right? You got enrollments out of it, you got measurable skill gains out of it, the company got employees retained, so we all benefited, right? Okay. And I think that third thing is that the third question is really a key to this, that everybody contributed. The employees contributed their time, employer contributed, we contributed. Way to go. Successful partnership. Now, I'll just tell everybody's benefit for everybody's benefit here. I like an example we just shared, had partnerships that naturally ended. Okay. And that's okay, because that opens up opportunities to share our resources with other employers in our area and other community agencies. So we don't want to get discouraged if a partnership ends for whatever reason. Okay, it's all good. Ultimately, it's all good. We can move on. So great example, awesome. You had all the ingredients that I thought of. Fantastic, way to go on that. Okay. Any other comments on this particular, Tara, Sarah in the chat or verbally, anybody? I don't want to skip over. Okay. Okay. So in the webinar, I also described some real life examples from my own adult education programs. One example I'll describe was with Cook Medical, a medical device manufacturer that's headquartered in Bloomington, Indiana. Another example I'll share in the full webinar is another advanced manufacturing company of medical devices, Boston Scientific, which is in the next town over from Bloomington. Okay. And then a third example we did, this time it was an IET, Integrated Education Training, that's ICAPS over in Illinois, that we did with an employer partner with IU Health. IU is Indiana University Health. They, like your state has a flagship university that runs kind of a healthcare network. We got that same thing over on our side. It's Indiana University. And so we did an IET with them. So I described for each one what the challenges were, what solutions we were able to contribute and offer, and how we partnered so that everybody benefited. So I hope those examples will be useful for you. Hope they're interesting anyway. And so you'll see that in the full webinar. Okay. So if I had to summarize, folks, my pitch to potential partners, you've seen these before here today, or any other type of education service, high school equivalency, English language learning, ICAPS, workforce literacy, or whatever, community agency, workforce development center, employer partner, whatever partner we're talking about, it really comes down, in my mind, to thinking ahead of time of why this potential partner would need us, what the potential partner needs us to do to help them with that need, how they will contribute to that effort, and how everybody will benefit. And really, that's what the full webinar will cover in some detail for you. All right. So that'll be posted on there. Tara and Sarah will show us that a little bit. Now, before we look at the other resources, I just want to kind of put in some information for you that I'm available to you to support you in your individual program. Since I'm retired, I'm pretty inexpensive. Okay. I just want to show you just some of the topics that our programs here in Indiana, our state agency, our statewide professional association, some other states have asked me to assist with. Okay. Of course, partnerships in general. Okay. A couple of these now are sort of interrelated. Sometimes I'm called on to help with instructional leadership and supervision ideas. Along with that, mentoring and coaching of personnel. Okay. What are some ideas that we as leaders could use to help with that? Some other interrelated things, marketing and recruiting of strategies for potential students. I'll let you know I have some rather unorthodox ideas about that. which I'm happy to share with you. Okay. Along with that, interrelated, new student intake and orientation, and retaining students in the program so they can accomplish their goals, which is related to the next one, improving student outcomes. Okay. Because we got to report on Table 4, National Reporting Service Table 4, right? That's what we're kind of be focused on to help us frame our student outcomes. Data-informed program planning. Oh my gosh, that sounds pretty theoretical, okay? But what I do there, sometimes I've helped programs take their National Reporting Service reports, and let's get into, okay, we see the chart of numbers on there, right? Make sure that we and our staff can understand what those numbers are, but also I try to help our programs get underneath those numbers, and let's get the story behind those numbers, okay? What's going on here that's producing these numbers, and what can we do about it if there's an area of need there, okay? IET, ICAPS, workforce literacy ideas, all the time for that kind of stuff. And with that, kind of something I'm working on recently with some programs is taking those IETs and certifying them as pre-apprenticeships in partnership with registered apprenticeship programs, okay? So if you want some help with that, either statewide or locally, let me know. Be glad to do that. Again, I'm pretty inexpensive, as Tara and Sarah will tell you, okay? Something kind of new is you've heard of COABE. That's our national organization. They've asked me to work with our local programs around the country about this partnership they now have with NCCER. That's the National Center for Construction Education Research. There's a special partnership going on where our local adult ed programs can become affiliates of NCCR, administer their NCCR curriculum and credentials at reduced price and some allowances that really remove some barriers that we faced as adult ed programs to actually doing that thing. So let me know. I'm glad to get you connected with that. I don't know, grant writing tips and techniques. I can't say I've earned and won every grant I've written, but sometimes I'm called on to kind of help with some strategies on that. And if there's a topic on there that is burning in your mind that is not listed there, let me know and I'll tell you if I can help with that or not. If I can't do it, I probably know someone who does, okay? So there's my email address and phone number on there. You can contact anytime, and love to work with you either statewide or locally. Just know I'm pretty cheap. I'm not cheap. I'm inexpensive. How's that? Okay. So any questions on that part of our time today so far? Okay, Tara and Sarah, can we look at the web page that you guys are working on that has some of these resources on there? Can you share that with us?
Yes, and I'll kind of talk about some of the resources and then we'll go back to view one together. So and you're all going to see all my tabs and how my crazy brain works, but that's okay. On the For Administrators page on the Excellence site, and I'll go ahead and put that in the chat too. I think, where'd my chat go? I'll find it. I'll put it in the chat.
I could do that too.
Okay, thanks. So I already posted, you'll see that I'm going to post the recording from today. In case a question came up or something and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what did that person say again? I wanted to hear that. I'll post the recording from today, but then right underneath, I already posted that full webinar. Rob recorded that for us in Illinois, used our language. Thank you so much, Rob. He made sure to talk about ICAPS when he's referring to IET. He also kind of opened up some of those conversations to other partnerships that you might utilize these resources for creating. So we put that full recording right here. And also, Rob went through and he kind of used his broader, how to create these conversations, and then went through and made templates for you that you can use. And I uploaded them, one of them into Google real quick, so you can just kind of see what we're talking about. So he made these templates for us. These are for conversation starters. This one's with a workforce development center. So you can see he took those kind of greater questions that we talked about all throughout the meeting so far today. And then he made some follow-up, more specific questions that you could use in both brainstorming and in conversations with these potential partners. And he has a little area where you can create notes. So you could do that digitally or be writing. And so he did those conversation starter templates here with the workforce development partner. He did one for template for conversation with employers. And then he also did that with agency heads. So many people have said, you know, especially last year and throughout FY26 so far, it takes a lot of time, you know, to be, I'm teaching, I'm the administrator, I'm doing all these things, especially at the beginning of the year, but also really want to get into some of these community partnerships. So thank you, Rob, is really trying to help us help everyone in this space, you know, to create some templates and some really usable resources that you can use. And the other set of tools that will be in here, but I didn't put it in here yet because, again, I thought after hopefully you have time to see it, it'll all make more sense. But Rob also created some scripts and then recorded some videos. Thank you, Rob, with people he knows that are examples of these 3 different conversations. So for some people, you know, taking what might come out of this template and see it in a conversation could be really helpful, again, as you're preparing, you know, trying to really maximize your time in creating partnerships for your program. So all these resources are here or will be here in this spot together. And thank you to Rob for creating those.
Oh, happy to. And you know, really, I just in the interest of confession here, okay, when I started in adult education throughout my career, I'll just let you know that, especially with employers, that's not my natural environment, okay? I really had to learn the business language, okay? So for example, to an employer, I'll just tell you what I learned. We do not mention the word remediation, okay? In education, remediation is a good thing. We're helping somebody who's struggling with skills to get skills. Remediation, wonderful thing. To an employer, remediation is the last stop to getting fired. Okay, so we don't remediate with employers. We train. Okay. However, for us in education, training, okay, we train animals. We don't train people, right? But to employer, they train. We remediate. Don't cross into remediation with employer. We train them. Okay. I had to learn that. Okay. Because I'm not, that's not my natural vocabulary. It's not my natural environment. Okay. You know, in education, we are a charitable humanitarian initiative, business. Okay, they can also be charitable and humanitarian, but they have a profit margin they're trying to make, right? So they stay in business. Okay, so it's a different, I don't know, kind of different. What do you want to say? A different way of coming at really the same effort to help people. Okay, be financially self-sustainable. So I had to learn that. That's still not my natural thing. So I had to really think about these 4 questions. You know, all through my career. Why does this employer or partner need us? What do we need? What do they need us to do? Okay, those 4 questions. How can they contribute? Because if we're not all contributing, it's not going to be a successful partnership. And how will everybody benefit? We all have to contribute. We all have to benefit, right? Okay. So, hey, can we look? And I know we got one of those videos done. Do we have that queued up we can look at for a second, Tara?
Yes, we do.
Okay. While you're doing that, I want to let you kind of set up. First of all, you want to turn your volume up, okay? Because when I heard it played on Zoom here is a little bit ago, it was a little bit fuzzy for me, but make sure your volume's up. And I think the closed captioning will come across. You can read along. So here's let me set the scene for you. Okay. Since you're all on the webinar, I'll give you under confession also. It's on my back porch. Okay. Now I got that windowed and screened in this summer, so it made a nice corner office. So you're getting a little bit of the show notes here. It looks like a nice corner office. Okay, my buddy Tom here in Santa Claus used to be our county's our county's uh, economic development corporation executive director. He's retired now. Okay. So I thought he would be a good one to come at from an employer standpoint, since his whole business was working with employers, right? So he plays the part of a hospital administrator, okay, who, and as adult educator, I noticed that he's posting a lot of positions over and over again, okay? So I'm thinking in my mind, he needs some help finding employees. I got job seekers who want jobs, okay? So I have a meeting with him, and this is what it looks like in his corner office. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is think about these 4 questions. Okay. And we'll discuss it afterwards in the time we have remaining. It's only about 5 minutes or so, 5 or 6 minutes. And let's talk about, what did you hear? If you can't hear it, we're going to follow the quote. What did you hear that was useful to the conversation? Did we talk about anything that was uncomfortable, either for the employer or maybe for you as the adult educator? Okay. So let's watch it with those kind of questions in mind, ready for discussion. All right. Okay, Tara, you're on.
Tom, thank you for taking some time to meet with me today. Good to meet you. Glad you're here. Well, I wanted to meet you because I've noticed that you've been posting a lot of open positions on your website. And I want you to know that in our adult education program, we're in the business of helping people who are job seekers get the training they need to get employed in places such as your hospital. We have many participants who want to get into the healthcare field in some way, so I was hoping we might partner in that effort for no cost to you. So could you give me an idea of what your hiring needs are, or your training needs and things like that?
We really need nurses bad. The nurses we have are so overworked, we're losing. And trying to get certified medical assistants to come in, help them with patient care. But we don't know. We just don't have a lot of applicants for it.
Oh, okay. So how do you try to get more CCNAs?
We go to job fairs all the time, and we have clinical experience for the high school students studying healthcare, CBT, the high schools. But they all think they have to go to college and graduate because they're, they think that's what they have to be eligible to come work for us. You know, if they just come to work for us, we would pay the tuition for those medical programs while they're employed. And, we already post a lot of job postings. You know that's how you found out about us, but we can't hire many of the applicants because they either can't pass the drug screen, they can't pass a background check, they got background issues, they don't even show up for the interview a lot of the times, and I don't know, things like that.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like you're looking for another strategy. Do you have anything in mind that you'd like to do?
We thought we ought to recruit some of our in-house environmental or cafeteria or other staff to move them up to the patient care. I don't know. A lot of them find that's difficult because taking time with their families, working all day, they just don't seem to think it's possible.
Okay. So it sounds like we need to reach a new audience to recruit for these jobs. Is that right?
If it's out there, that might help.
Okay, well, in our adult education program, like I said, we help adults and some out-of-school youth ages 16 and over to further their education. Like they can earn their high school equivalency diplomas, learn English as a new language, earn these career certifications and things like that. We're trying to help them get employed in high-wage, in-demand occupations and on a career path, like in healthcare. So it sounds like going from a medical assistant into nursing would be an example of that, right?
Well, sure. Like I said, all of our employees can access tuition reimbursement to study for a degree in healthcare for higher paying, better position. We just got to get them employed and keep them employed. But your program might be a great inducement.
Okay. So, well, how about this? What if we partnered with you to offer a certified clinical medical assistant class? We can recruit from among our adult education students as well as the general public. We could provide the classroom training and some lab practice. And you said you already have a clinical experience for the high school students. So do you think you could offer that to the adult students in this class as well?
That shouldn't be a problem. We already do it for the community college students. I don't see why we couldn't include the students out of your program.
Oh, that'd be great. And I'm thinking that it's just one course that would be more doable for your existing employees in housekeeping and cafeteria who might be interested.
That could be. So how long would your courses take? The high school course is like 2 years, and the community college, that program is a semester and a half or something like that, probably 2 years for an associate's degree.
Let's see, for CCMA, I think we could try to do it in like 14 weeks or so. We could go something like this, maybe 3 nights a week. And some of that could be in the classroom in the lab, and some of that could be the clinical experience with you, or maybe 2 nights a week, and the clinical experience could be at some other time in the day or evening, whatever's convenient for folks.
That could be. How much would it cost us?
Oh, there's no cost to you. like I said before, we're already funded to help job seekers get training and employed or upskill. So I can work on the funding. If you could provide the clinical experience, that'd be a great contribution to this partnership. And then hopefully you'll be able to employ the students we have in the class to fill your hiring needs.
Okay.
So we could have this class that will get them their CCMA certifications. Now, besides the skills they need to pass the certification test itself, is there anything you would need us to emphasize or anything you want us to add?
Yes. We have to make sure they know how to take blood pressure, vital signs. Those are extremely important. We've had some situations where medical assistants didn't take those right. And you can imagine that poses a real danger to the students in our operation here.
Yeah, that's
Or
good.
to the patients, excuse me, not the students, but the patients.
Patients and probably doctors and nurses too. Wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's good. So, okay, we want to make sure that they get plenty of practice in the lab for that. What else?
Well, they need to know how important it is to come to work. To come to work when it's time, when they're scheduled, and to be regular. Let's see, communication. They've got to know how to talk to the patients with empathy, with compassion.
I see. So those soft skills you're talking about. Well, we'll definitely cover that in class so they know. What else do you need the students to learn?
That's about it. That's all I can think of.
Okay, how about this? How about if I put a training plan together and send it to you in about in 2 weeks? Then you can give me some feedback and we can meet again before we go ahead with it.
That sounds great. 2 weeks should work, especially if it's no cost.
Sure. Well, Tom, thanks for your time. I'll get working on it and see you in about 2 weeks.
Okay, that's Tom and me in his corner office. Okay, hospital administrator, adult educator. What did you hear in that conversation? I'll let you know also before we phrase the question. In reality, that was a 6-minute conversation, okay, which would probably in reality would take several meetings to come to. Okay, we need to develop the relationship, but I try to boil it down to about 5-6 minutes so you and our busy jobs can watch a video like this, see some modeling going on. But in that conversation, what did you hear that was very helpful, that said, oh my gosh, yes, that really got us to that partnership? Okay, what are some things that we talked about that that really moved that in a positive direction? Either put in the chat or shout it out loud.
Well, you both asked each other what you need over and over, like every step of the way. Like, what do the job seekers need? What do you need as a program? That's what, yeah, a perfect scenario would go, right? You're able to be communicative about that and honest about what's not working and what is, or what would work.
Way to go. Excellent, Brian. Thank you. That's exactly one of the things I had in mind. Other things that you heard in that conversation that really moved us toward that partnership that you thought was very positive.
You were able to meet each other's needs.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes that doesn't happen.
Right.
So sometimes that puts a quick end to it. But so that was very, obviously you designed this particular example in such a way that you would be able to, which of course allowed it to move forward. So you were able to meet each other's needs.
You bet. You bet. That's another thing I had in mind. That's what a partnership has to be about. We've got to meet each other's needs for sure. Others.
One of the things that I noticed was talking about the cost and telling that there wasn't a cost. And I in this one also was as a good partner, you could see the benefits for your students long term. Even if you're only going to have them for a short period of time, but then they're employed, this is an employer that is going to help them move to the next level through their tuition reimbursement.
You bet. You bet. Okay. I would advise against going into an employer meeting with all this prepared and a calculator. Okay. Okay. This is what it's going to cost you. Okay. They're already contributing to the cost. They're going to have costs involved in the clinical experience. Okay. Maybe if they provide space, we didn't kind of get to the point where the space is going to be. They're going to have some in-kind contributions. Okay. But in the no cost is something actually Tom, my buddy in the video, as we were going over the script, he said, you know, an employer would really like to hear it's no cost. So I said, okay, Tom, we'll just revise the script. We'll make sure we put that in. He said, emphasize that in the script. Okay, so that's an idea that came from Tom too, to emphasize that. Thanks for pointing that out. Absolutely. Okay. Other things you heard that were positive in there that moved us toward partnership? Anything in the chat or? Okay, let's go on to this question. Okay, was there anything in that conversation that you found maybe difficult? Okay, that kind of maybe clunked on you, like, why did they mention that? Or why did they talk about this? Or wow, I wouldn't have said that. Okay. And I can take the criticism. Okay. I'm on Zoom. You can't punch me too hard here. Okay.
I will say that I think it does a good job of illustrating too that like within any organization, you got to get a real person in a room who can like, you know, like an actual human being that can talk it through with you, and you can build that relationship with and kind of keep coming back to adjust. So it's not just sort of like a faceless institution, but like, you know, a specific human being from specific department that you can work with for the long haul.
Absolutely. You know, and it's hard for us sometimes to form, but yes, this is not a partnership all with one institution with another. This needs to become a personal relationship, okay, where personal trust is built. All right. Me and Tom, okay, you and your agency head or your workforce development person or your employer, the human person. You've got to build it because if there's not a personal trust, I found anyway, you're right, then there cannot be institutional trust. Okay, because you're the face of your institution, and that other person's the face of his or her institution. Okay, great point. Thank you for offering that. Excellent. Okay. As I watched this video and kind of reviewed the script myself, I kind of what kind of clunked with me is we almost got into a criticism about high schools and community colleges. Okay, did you hear that part? Well, they work with high schools and the community colleges, but they're it takes too long was a hurdle. Okay, and I'm kind of, as I were to reflect on myself, I'm kind of glad I sort of backed off that. Okay, we're not there to criticize other partners he has, nor to criticize them ourselves. Oh yeah, the high schools, they take way too long, or the community colleges, yeah, they're horrible at this. They don't have good outcomes, and blah 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 blah. Okay, that's not. Our issue is not the other partners, okay? The high school CTE program is 2 years for a reason. The community colleges have to do the way they do things for a reason. They can do whatever they have to do or want to do. That's not our issue. We're not going to take that on. Here's where our issue is. Here's what we can offer. And I did not discourage them from continuing with the high school nor continuing with our community college, okay? Not that at all. So you kind of want to watch that pitfall if they kind of bring up that, and certainly don't bring that up yourself. Like you shouldn't be doing it for the high school at the world. Okay, no, they're valuable partners. We want to be a valuable partner also. Here's what we offer. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. You're going to have 2 more videos like that. As soon as I reconvene my friends, you'll have one for an agency head. She's going to pose as a superintendent of a school district that we are part of. Okay. It could also be your college president if you're a community college, or your CEO if you're a community-based organization. And you'll have one as a workforce development a staff member, executive of our Workforce Development Center. Okay, so I'll get those together. I'm kind of revising some scripts for that. I'm going to reconvene them, and we'll do that. So good to have friends in those places, right? Okay, Tara and Sarah, it's all yours now for the last time we have together. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rob, for coming today to share and facilitate conversation and let people know about all these great resources. We really do hope, and again, we'll finish out this section. We'll be posting everything that we showed you there. We really do hope that these templates and the recordings can help inspire you, and also that you really can use them to help you in your conversations with potential partners. And please know that we will continue our admin VLC in September. This is our convening for FY26. September 24th, we will be talking about effective communication. Communication for effective leadership practices is actually the official title of our meeting on Wednesday, September 24th. And kind of circling back to Rob, please let us know also if you are interested in having Rob come and talk to your program about any of the things that he mentioned. He comes with a wealth of experience. You know how to find Sarah and I, and we're happy to also share his contact information. Also, you know, accessing any of the resources, the templates, the recordings, the scripts. You know, if you encounter anything or want us to send them to you, we're happy to work with you on that. So it was great to see everyone for a minute on Zoom here. And thank you again to Rob for joining us for this wonderful session today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words everybody's sharing in the chat. So, Sarah?
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing to follow up with what Tara had. And I think she mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate this topic today and the topic next month are things that are topics that were suggested by the field. We would love to hear, like if you took a morsel from Rob and you did something with it, we would love to hear about that. And we can always circle back and have additional conversations in Illinois, like, okay, Rob came and shared these things with us, and here these people did these, tried these different tactics. How did it go? If you want to have that as a follow-up conversation, we would love to facilitate that for you. So please just let us know in the best way that we can support you moving forward.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody.